Hello, everyone. How are you? Good. Welcome to the afternoon karaoke session. No, I'm just kidding. That's about 2 hours after a couple beers. So.
Yeah.
No, thank you for attending this panel. The focus for today, if you haven't heard of a GLP-1 type product, it's an interesting discussion. It's a lot of debate about potential supply chain challenges. We've assembled a great panel that covers a broad range from the supply chain. So everybody's got a very interesting background related to that. So what we're going to start with is brief introductions. And we'll just go down the line. We'll start with Colin.
Hi. Hear me okay? My name's Colin Smith. I'm with Aurorium. I'm the global pharma innovation leader, and so our company focuses in on the manufacturing of piperidine. Obviously, in the GLP-1 world, there's a lot of that's used. We also manufacture other high purity solvents, as ACS pyridine. We are the only backwardly integrated producer of multi-compendial sodium hydroxide solutions in the United States. So you can use it for clean in place or as an excipient in injectables. So it's, really at the end of the day, we are servicing CDMOs and other customers directly to help solve their supply chain issues with our products.
So I'm John Phipps, VP of Clinical Pipeline Development at CPC Scientific. CPC Scientific, we're a peptide CMO, one of the major CMOs in the market. Definitely GLP-1 is very interesting for us. I've been in peptides my whole career, so I started at the bench and eventually moved over to Bachem for a number of years and have been with CPC since 2017. Quite a bit of our work is with peptide NCEs, new chemical entities. We also do some peptide generics. We've developed semaglutide, and we're working on developing tirzepatide as well. And then we're working closely with a number of clients doing GLP-1 analogs as well. Pretty interesting discussion today, but we'll be talking about some challenges with supply chain as well as scaling up. So I think looking forward to our discussion.
Hi, I'm Robert Geiger. I'm head of business development for Jiuzhou Pharma, based in Atlanta, Georgia. Taking advice of Steve Beagle, I've been in this industry for 20 plus years. Most of it's been in peptides, so I've seen a lot of these GLP-1s come from the lab through the clinic and to commercialization. Worked on some of the innovator products as well. Our company's quite unique. We're one of the few companies that have very large capacity due to our small molecule background, and we have expanded over the last few years into peptides, and over the last year we've really built out a very strong peptide team. So we're heavily involved into the GLP-1 space, and look forward to the discussion.
Hi, my name's Rob Kammer, CEO and founder of Global Pharma Partners, Inc., also a smaller company and exchange. I'm here today mainly because of Dr. Rob Geiger. My first entrance into peptides was with Rob Geiger and the company he represented at that time. And what I'll tell you is that he called me and asked me if I was interested in a quality position in that company. I told him I'm not really a quality type of guy, but I can help you forward integrate your APIs to finished dose. And since then, we've out-licensed 23 generic, 505(b)(2), and biologicals to clients, both domestically and globally. We also are managing many other projects, small molecule products. And with that, I'm going to give a short presentation on GLP-1s. thank, again, let's turn this on. Hello? I want to thank again Mark Alexei, Dr. Rob Geiger, and the panel here. Going to, oh, all right. So, presentation's mainly about supply and demand. Novo Nordisk is Novo Nordisk, Eli Lilly, see if I can get this right. Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly are two of the largest companies dealing with GLP-1s for diabetes and weight loss drugs. As a matter of fact, the revenues from Novo Nordisk are greater than the country of Denmark. We're in a transformational point here in history of medicine, which changes lives for the good. I think good examples of the past are penicillin and polio vaccines. This chart is just a chart to show you by volume, and this is an IQVIA chart, show you by volume the expansion of the units for diabetes and weight loss drugs. Phenomenal increase just in the last few years. This chart really says it all. I mean, in 2018, you had, there were total of 7 generics that were representing most of the generic market. Today, there are 2. I'm going to talk a little bit about supply and demand of GLP-1 peptides. What is driving the unprecedented growth? So this is really, for me, a very important chart because what it's showing is, and even tirzepatide will soon become a drug of the past, but this is showing you the impact of these drugs and the potential as far as affecting diabetes, weight loss. Me personally, I was 317 pounds at DCAT, and today I'm 222 pounds.
Wow.
Okay. So, tirzepatide, I allocate most of that, and I probably saw some of you at the DCAT. Diabetes is rising globally. We see it not just in the States, but China, Europe, elsewhere. And obesity. Obesity, you could see the US is taking the lead, not proudly, but UK, all the way down to smaller countries who have least impact as far as diabetes and obesity, which are countries like Vietnam. Top 20 countries, first one being US, the last one being Vietnam. Okay, so Novo and Lilly, spectacular success, have spawned what analysts call an obesity gold rush. Products, these are products in development. Injectables on the left, oral solids in the middle, and undisclosed on the right. another IQVIA slide. This is the same data, it's just presented in a different way. We're showing in this slide clinical stage, okay? So
with that, I don't have my glasses on, number one. So the outer ring is what, the earliest phase, and then getting up to commercial is the inner?
well, Ribelsis is a product on the market. Some of these are products that are in development later in clinical.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Preclinical obesity drug pipeline. Okay, and this is basically small molecule oral GLP-1s. I mean, I had some help with an oral solid as well early on before tirzepatide. Didn't do near as much good, I can tell you that. But they are important because there's some people that do not want to inject, right? They don't want any part of a needle. Me, I could care less. I was all about trying to get healthy. Okay, so this slide's important. See here, yeah. Ongoing demand for semaglutide, GLP-1s has resulted in drug shortages and long lead times. Well, you know, there's several things that we believe are contributing to this shortage. There are the issues with transportation, cold chain storage during the transportation. There are problems with shipments during COVID. There are a whole host of issues that contributed to the shortage, global shortage. And of course, demand is up tremendously. Okay, China's current and global future role in the GLP-1 universe as user, innovator, and supplier. Okay, Chinese companies supplying GLP-1 peptides. They're the main supplier, right? 80% of the DMFs are coming from China. The rest of the world are filing the other 20%. During CPH China, a colleague of mine told me that there were over 100 booths where different development companies, manufacturers are promoting their own semaglutide or their own GLP-1. Liraglutide is now off patent in many countries, taking up much of the capacity. Okay, and semaglutide is next to follow. Oral versions, we know they use up a lot of API going through the digestive system. So there are going to be new innovations, new ways to get orally, to get the drug to the bloodstream. Some we're working on with partners globally. This is too hard to read for me, but it's a list of the Chinese companies and the rest of the world. Chinese companies hold 80% of the DMFs. Again, Okay, China's advantages. Well, many reasons China has the advantage. Second bullet, they put 4 times as many science and engineering graduates as the U.S., making China a current future technological powerhouse. You can read for yourself. You know, China's in this for the long run. They're investing in innovative products, okay? India is as well. GPP is working with a lot of Indian partners in this respect. Okay, so this is what we were talking about earlier regarding the fact that China is intent on trying to help the population become healthy and trying to help them in monitoring the sugars, carbohydrates, wine, my favorite drink, intake. And so recently they have instituted programs domestically to address this. The whole gist of this is there going to be more and more consumption internally in China, which is going to also affect supply and demand. There's a theme here, okay? And really what we need to understand is that Chinese need the drugs as well. So that is going to affect supply and demand. These innovative drugs, these products are being approved internally in China for, okay. This is really pointing to, you can see the 400 million as far as the investment into biotech. They're investing huge amounts. This is just one example of investments that are going into China and Chinese companies, innovative companies, to develop drugs that affect diabetes and weight loss. Okay, next subject. Okay, jumping to global pharma partners. So you knew you couldn't get out of this short presentation without me at least trying to give you my spiel. As I told you, I'm the owner and founder of Global Pharma Partners. We started with Dr. Geiger. We're expanding our business. Our intelligence base, both domestically and internationally, is pretty incredible. We have over 50 alliances globally with agents, partners, and a good part of that we deal with peptides and other products. So this is quickly Peptide Pharma. I'm not going to mention the name, but Peptide Pharma, a company located in the U.S. and abroad, was strictly focused on peptide API development before GPP, before meeting GPP. So that the company had active pharmaceutical ingredients. It was strictly synthetic peptide APIs. We basically presented a program, 5-year program, to take forward, integrate them into finished dose. And that's what we did. We took them into the US and internationally. We have out-licensed several products that you're familiar with on the diabetes side, weight loss side. We're currently promoting generics for Wegovy. We licensed Ozempic. Zepbound, Monjaro, many others. You can read the rest of that. We have quite a history in peptides. I think the biggest thing here is that, the foundation, how this all got started, was the company we partnered with have intellectual property that we don't discuss. But I can tell you, working with the FDA, we learned a lot of secrets on how to get these products approved. Perfect example was a product that launched last November. We had spent 8 years trying to get that product approved through FDA. It's synthetic peptide. So, guy on the left, that was me in March.
One pill makes
Okay.
you small, and the
Literally.
ones that mother gives you
Guy in the
don't
middle,
do
I wish
anything
that was me
at
today.
all. Go ask
And
Alice
with the new peptide,
when
on the
she's
right,
10
says it
feet
was
tall.
Ratrutide, and some of
And
these
if
others,
you go
one can build
chasing
the
rabbits,
perfect man by 2034. So, left, DCAT, this year, middle June, I was with my wife. In that photo, somehow she got cut out. Right is me today. All right. so
I don't
the
see a
last-
difference in those last two slides. So.
Little trick photography, maybe? I don't know. The last slide is just addressing, really, it's more than just injecting. It's all about diet, fasting, exercise, trying to get back into the right program, and that's what you're seeing in the States and elsewhere. Okay. There are all kinds out on the internet. You're going to find all kinds of opportunities to access these products for weight loss. All right. Thank you, and we'll turn it back over to Rob.
All right, thanks, Rob. So we want to kind of get the panel going. We're going to all look towards Colin here because one of the most critical components is how are we going to have enough solvents for that huge circle of products and the kilos and kilos that are going to be done. But more importantly is then what do you do with those solvents afterwards?
Right, yeah, so I'll sort of take that in two parts. Piperidine is obviously one of the largest solvents. Acetonitrile, dimethylformamide, these are all solvents that are materials that, you need a certain level of purity from, right? You can't have, we always say garbage in, garbage out, right? And so understanding where these impurities are and how they affect the processes is really critical to servicing the customers. And so as we've moved just in the last 2 years with our piperidine manufacturing, we've actually moved our manufacturing to our plant down in Pasadena, Texas, that has larger capacity, so it addresses this whole issue of having enough piperidine to go around, but also the quality of the piperidine has increased. All the impurities have decreased down to in the hundreds of ppm levels where it used to be tens of thousands. And so we're very sensitive to our pharma customers and what they really need in their supply chain to really let them do the work that they need to do. The recovery, this is something, how do you use piperidine, DMF? I mean, these are huge amounts of organic solvents, right? How do you get around that issue? I think one of the big challenges we see as we talk to some of our customers is we are fairly confident in our ability to purify solvents, but it's using those solvents back in the process. And so getting your process situated with the FDA to say, yes, we can use these recycled solvents, whether it's DMF or piperidine, all these can be recycled, but having enough forethought, enough development really has to be done to really enable us to have a case that's makes sense.
Okay. And John, this question will be for you. Looking out in the audience, we have a lot of small molecule CDMOs here, just a couple handful of peptide CDMOs. But if you're a small molecule CDMO and you obviously want to jump on this train, I mean, what can people do and how can they add capacity to capture some of this?
From a small molecule perspective, I'm not sure I'm totally qualified to answer that, but
What are you doing, let's say with your company? I mean, how are
Right.
you adding capacity and?
right, exactly. So, yeah, there's quite a few things that we're looking at. I think a really interesting slide when I saw all of these companies that are looking towards development, because there's the issue of speed of development as well as the process of development. So I think from a peptide CMO, we're looking at very much a platform technology to move it fast forward as far as development. And then at the same time, working on other methodologies that are such as fragment condensation, things like this that take longer development timeline. I think green chemistry is another thing that we're focused on for the long term. And then capacity is a big challenge. For us, we're using mostly solid phase synthesis. So there's very big limitations on reactor capacity and how much we can actually synthesize in a single batch. We're talking about, tens of kilos is a large amount for a peptide, but now we're talking we need to do metric tons. For a small molecule, maybe does not seem that much, but for a peptide, that's a lot of material. So we're looking at changes in the process to do that. We're looking at different isolation techniques, but we're also expanding to other sites as well and increasing our reactor capacity. So we're doing a lot of things in parallel, and I think it's for peptides, it's going to renovate the whole industry, I think.
And so if you're a company that's sitting on very large reactors but may not have solid phase chemistry, how easy do you think it is for them to convert or be able to take on a GLP project?
Right, so I think there's, from a peptide CMO, there's a different approach, but a small molecule CMO or others, there's definitely a lot of solution phase approaches. And I think the development timeline for one of the GLP-1 type of peptides is going to be fairly long. But taking, for example, the Lilly approach is making fragments and then taking those fragments and condensing them in a single reaction into large reactors. So there's potential to partner as well with other companies, I think, to fill this gap. But as far as, are we talking peptides or small molecules as well?
Kind of both.
Right.
Right, because a lot of people think GLPs are just peptide-based, but there are
Right.
these anti-obesities that are going to be, small molecules as well. But
Right, exactly. So I think it's going to be a technology and technical capability fit as well, but I think there's a good opportunity to partner with some companies perhaps to fill this gap, because the demand, as we can see, is much larger than any of the suppliers can do, and it looks like it's going to be exponential growth from what everyone can see.
And Rob, you want to grab your microphone back there? This comes back to you. I think most people see in the news what Lilly and Novo are doing. They're just going out and buying some CDMOs and buying capacity. Whether it goes through or not, who knows? But I mean, that's a pretty strong strategy. So I mean, if you look at Lilly and Catalent, you worked with a lot of these CDMOs like a Catalent.
Absolutely.
And what impact do you think that'll have on other drugs that maybe you had Catalent making for you? And do you see this trend continuing? And what will it do to our industry?
Well, you hit the nail right on the head, because what we're seeing now with Catalent being bought up by Novo is that now they're going to be less capacity for other very important drugs, okay? So, but if I have to choose between losing 100 pounds or an antibiotic, I'm probably going to go for the weight loss drug. I'll somehow, so I think that what we've seen is that there are a lot of CDMOs that are coming up on the scene. I think that's good. Most of the demand has been from the injectable side, hospital side. There seems to be more than enough capacity on the oral solid side. So it's really, we're talking about injectables, auto pen injector type projects, things like that. I think that that is the place to be as far as CDMO. That's my thinking.
And back when we were developing some of these generics, one of the challenges we had was with the pen and the auto injector. I mean, clearly, don't know if we would call it a monopoly, but there were only a handful of companies, and a lot of those had exclusive agreements. And so this was a huge barrier a few years ago. I remember talking with companies saying, we just can't do it because of this pen. But if anybody saw what happened in the last 2 weeks, Lilly announced you can buy it in a vial straight from their website. So that, removed a huge barrier of the pen, which now makes people rethink of, I no longer have to worry about this device and the IP and all the things associated with it. So this is really going to send a ripple, through the industry. So we just got a few minutes left. We want this to be as interactive as possible, and we'll just stop for a minute and see if there's anybody in the audience who has.
I'd be interested to know what is the outcome of this capacity shortage? And I know that your company, JoJo, is entering the fray. Who else is?
Yeah, so, I'll just, expand on that. I mean, when I joined the company and we saw these large reactors and didn't necessarily have the peptide expertise, we said, hey, we can put those to good use. We've got the peptide expertise, and let's use some of these, larger reactors. But I think a lot of companies are starting to think that way of, can we make conversions, and how do we, are we able to jump in that game? And I mean, Colin, I'll start with you. You deal with all the CDMOs, so what are you seeing?
Yeah, so I mean, that's definitely something that we're very sensitive to. We're already planning for what we think our volumes will be in 2027. We're putting capital on the ground. You think about manufacturing, debottlenecking. I mean, there's tankage, there's reactors that we're already, our engineering team's already planning and investing in. Likewise, I mean, we're talking about GLP-1 here, but the oligonucleotides is another area that I think you're going to see an exponentiation from. And so we're already investing in servicing the oligo market with reagents and putting capacity at our plant. So, we really want to catch be on the front end of this versus trying to play catch up, right? And so we want to have a lot of forethought. And so and on the other side of it is, we're looking, how do we service customers now, but we really want to think about the 5 and the 10-year projection. And so what are going to be the new emerging technologies so we can start working and situate ourselves as a chemical provider or solutions provider to the different manufacturers.
There was another,
I
Sue.
was just going to make a comment because it's not only in weight loss and diabetes, but they're also expanding the indications such as heart. That is going to be huge when you look at cardio. So
Right.
I think
Yep.
the market is just going to keep
I mean,
growing.
today's
When you
new,
get to a point, what doesn't it do?
yeah, it's transformed into a lifestyle drug, right? Today's news, anti-aging, last week, they're giving it for people, alcoholics. It curves the alcohol. For opioid use, I mean, it goes on and on. So it's quite, we're in an interesting time right now because, 3 years ago, we focused on these just for diabetes, and whether it was serendipity or people knew, I mean, people were losing weight, and, these products they're coming out fast.
But interestingly, because even like with Wellbutrin, which was, people would stop smoking, it kind of dies out over time. And so, to me, it'd
Right.
be fascinating, because everything gets the hype. But over the long term, I honestly, this looks like a steady player.
And I guess, building back on the capacity thing is, I mean, what's going to happen, here in 2 years? These keep exploding and that circle keeps, growing. I mean, is there going to be enough capacity?
In terms of what we produce, piperidine specifically, but, also solvents, our plant we have is very large, and I think it has the ability to shift our focus more to manufacturing piperidine. So we have a lot of capacity that we can take, and we're already talking about above and beyond what we have now, installing new reactors and just being able to really service that, the market. So it's a good problem to have, actually. So, and again, we're trying to be very forward-thinking, looking at the market. I think in some ways, it's hard for us to even imagine that we're going to see the kind of growth we are, and so we're just, we're still trying to be very forward-thinking, and so it'll be interesting. We will be, from a solvent perspective, I think we are positioning ourselves so there will not be a shortage. I mean, that's our thinking. We've done a lot of market research, lots of models, and then we're going to try to use that to, capture that capacity in our plants. So, and if we have to expand to another plant, then so be it. I think there's a lot of growth here, and there's enough of the, from a market story, it supports investment. So.
Absolutely. And we're taking that head on as well. I think by next year, we'll probably have 5 times the capacity that we have this year. I mean, we're aggressively expanding. We have facilities in Hangzhou, China, as well as the US. We're expanding capabilities in both of those. And we're looking at a new site as well. And so aggressively, I think we've been talking for many years about expansion and slowly expanding, but this has driven, for sure, the importance. And also we have companies developing new chemical entities, which are in this space as well. So you're talking, we need a metric ton, not a 10 kilos.
Yeah, and you're also seeing facilities being built in North Carolina and other areas for further down the chain, the packaging, the devices. I mean, it's a huge ripple effect. And of course, we focus primarily on the API supply, but we want to bring the broader people in. I know we'll get a few more questions here, but we tried not to make this a technical conference. We didn't want to put anybody to sleep, but John and I do have extensive other presentations that dive deep into the technical, so feel free to reach out to us afterwards. But yes.
So I'm with Edge One, and we're more on the device side. We're seeing challenges with the CMO side over there, really with sustainability, more so than some of the off-the-shelf and how that's growing. Are you guys seeing that on the drug side? Are there any changes being made in manufacturing, or how to keep up with those kind of concerns, and then also the scale as far as automation, things like that?
Well, definitely. And, I see AI being used to, first of all, on a manufacturing side where, we need to, some of the guys here were talking about impurities and so forth. So, definitely expanding the capacity on the manufacturing side for the hospital or injectable products, and then also expanding the capacity for on the oral solid side. You really have 2 class of APIs there that are going to be, under high demand. So.
Yeah, and sustainability, that's a big issue. We talk about that a lot, and we have an initiative of working towards green chemistry as well, because we can't keep expanding our chemical usage and also our waste. That's a big challenge as well. So that's definitely a big subject for us, as well as the supply chain for all the raw materials. But yeah, it's a challenge.
I know you didn't want to talk technical, but
Okay. I can talk it all day.
comment then on the upstream stuff, the nuts and bolts, amino acid derivatives, coupling reagents, bulk chromatography, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's another, piece of the puzzle. And, I mean, they're aware, fortunately, a lot of these amino acids have been used for other the large-scale projects. I think starting back in the mid-2000 with Fusion, that really pushed the shift of the industry that the amino acid suppliers had to start scaling up. And then along the way, within the last 10 years, a lot of the bogus amino acid, they disappeared. So, the ones that are standing now, they're doing the same thing. I mean, we're giving them forecast, and I mean, they ask if there are too many zeros we're giving them. Right now, they've got to keep up, because again, if you don't have the amino acids, you don't have a drug. If you don't have piperidine, you don't have the drug. And so kind of our goal is to report back for the next few years for these topics of, what is it that's going to slow things down? Is it the amino acids? Is it the capacity for the CDMOs, or is it the device? So I think a lot of that's to be determined, but trust me, we're working hard with our suppliers, because these are critical components.
A lot of those components are offshore.
Yeah.
You see, given I won't talk about the political one, instead
Yeah.
any issues with some of those less than nice relationships or something?
Yeah.
Where we are offshore on those?
For me, no, I don't. I mean, there's no, you can't buy amino acids in Europe or any of these other countries. So it's gonna remain there.
Yep, exactly.
Yes.
You've spoken about the GLP-1s and the explosion of the industry. What about like the ripple, and you mentioned a little bit the ripple effect with regard to downstream, specifically around sterile fill finish. Catalent got bought by Norse, and assuming that's all going to be to feed their Ozempic. And again, you had mentioned that certain drugs are going to be looking for sterile fill finish capacity. Have you seen any inklings in the market with regard to finding creating new capacity to fill the vacuum that's going to be taken up by these drugs? Like even like not just pens, but also vials, etc.
Well, I think I mentioned earlier, they're investing significant money internationally, and I mentioned China and India, tremendous amount of money going into capacity there to expand capacity, but also a lot of money into, as John and they were saying, technology to make the processes more efficient. For example, I see just in China alone, the investment is, I mean, we only see but a part of this. So you're going to see tremendous amount of money invested in capacity expansion there. But that makes us more reliant upon international supply, right?
If we can talk, then how does America go ahead and become more efficient so they can
Yeah. We need to invest more domestically.
and lower, and
You're right, Sue.
we
Yeah.
are where we are.
Right. So we have to invest in the same here. Absolutely. Yeah.
So we're out of time, and in fairness to our next moderator, Nigel, and that group, we want to give them the time. But I'll be at our booth. We have Juzo booth 99. The others are here as well. So we'll hang around. Feel free to chat. We can talk GLP all day long. Thank you.
Thank you.